Hey guys, welcome back to another review episode. This is something that I was able to pick up from someone who is actually moving. Not really sure. I think that this was doing a little bit of research from the Victorian era, which could be the early 1900s or even 1800s. But I thought it was quite unique. It is a wash stand. It does have the mirror. It's got a couple of candle holders on the side right there. They're both intact, and it's got a pitcher, it's got a basin, and it's got a place to hang cloths or towels on each side. And it also on the bottom there has what they call a chamber pot, or something that you could relieve yourself in and dispose of the next day. But I thought it was really nice, and I was able to pick it up for around $75. I purchased this and another item I'll take and show you out there earlier. Together I gave $100 for both of them. But I thought that this was quite unique, and that I would actually put it to use, because I'm not beyond using a little bit of water and dumping it out, and you know, just doing things like they did in the old days. But even if I didn't do that, it's a unique piece, and you know, it's also a conversation piece, and it's cool. You know, they don't make stuff like this anymore, and I appreciate the art and the craftsmanship that they put into stuff like this, and you know, the usefulness of the things that they made. But anyway, yeah, I thought it was kind of cool. So let's go outside and I'll show you the other item that I picked up along with this. This item right here I can appreciate. This was a liquid storage transport container. The lid is stuck because it's bent right there, so I'm going to have to do a little bit of work to get it off. But thought it was unique, first of all, because it had the initial of my last name on it. But when I was a kid, my three great uncles, they owned a dairy. And I can remember them putting milk in containers like this and transporting them. Or I guess, you know, it would have been good for any other type of liquid. But yeah, I thought this was kind of cool, and basically another just conversation piece. But I picked this up and that wash basin for $100. And then just before I left, I forgot to tell you, just before I left, the person came out with this item. Now this I can also appreciate because my grandmother actually had one of these that she used to can with. So Jennifer's going to have to move over, make room for her dad and some of his canning. Mine might not be as fancy, but it's old school and it works just the same. I undid these things right here. This lid actually twists a little bit and then it comes off. And then you've got on the inside, you've got all your pieces, basically to be able to suspend your jars down in there. You've got a little stand right here that can reverse and go upside down, depending on what size jars that you had. And then of course the whole basket right there. But yeah, this thing is really cool, and I actually picked this up for $50. Now, if you go and look, items similar to this sell, depending on what style they were, I think this would have been probably around $300. Then they have some on there that actually had handles on the side, as opposed to these lips like this one has that were around $800. But you know, nonetheless, regardless of the price, it's an antique. But you know, they don't make stuff like this anymore. This one is actually aluminum, and I thought, you know what? My grandma had one of those, and I'm going to buy that thing and do some of my own canning in it. Well, there's a little bit of a trick there. Got to get those positioned just right. For one. Oh, I know what it is. It's that stand on the inside. I must not have it seated on there correctly. But anyway, guys, this is pretty cool, so I decided to go ahead and purchase it and pick it up. That way I can, help Jennifer to do some canning. Anytime you find somebody moving like that, or a garage sale, or, sometimes you can run into some pretty cool bargains on antique things or older items like this that are still in good shape and are usable. And if you know how to do that skill or that craft, then you're all set up to go, and you didn't have to spend a lot of money. Buying a new pressure canner, I mean, they're expensive. So anyway, yeah, I got one here that will do the job, and I'm excited about next year's canning so that Jennifer and I can get together and see what we can't put up in the jars to hold us over through the winter time. The other thing that I wanted to show you was this new husk knife that this company called Husk, basically from Japan, sent us. I thought it was really cool. I've been wanting to make an ulu. If you know what that is, it's kind of a half moon shaped knife that's got a handle that goes across that you use it to rock with and cook and cut meat and things like that. But when I seen this company reached out and wanted to know, could they send us one for a review? And I said, yeah, exactly. So, but this does go on our main channel, because a lot of times these companies reach out to us because of the geographic area that our main channel covers. So be watching for the review on this knife right here. But I'm going to go ahead and show it to you right here. It kind of resembles an ulu because it is a little bit on the half moon shape side configuration right here, and it's got really good balance to it, and then it's got a hole for your finger to go in so that you can hang on to it right here. And the blade is probably 5/16 and here at the handle, and probably tapers down a little bit to probably, I don't know, 3/16, maybe 1/8 of an inch. But it's not too light, but it's not heavy either. It's got a little handle back here, a little place back here, I guess, to put a string where you can hang it up or whatever. It did not come with a sheath. They are a Japanese company. This is supposedly made out of some Japanese steel, kind of based along the traditions of the samurai swords. But anyway, they talked about two different types of knives: the Japanese style metal and knives, and then the pros and cons, and like the German style as well. The German style, I guess they said that it was made out of softer steel, and you had to sharpen it a lot. But the Japanese blades, you didn't have to sharpen quite as much, but since they were harder, they were more prone to maybe breaking off or pitting. Maybe if you hit something, that it might break off. But I intend to use this for cooking. It's going to kind of like be a chef's knife. Now, I will tell you this, just from the factory, it's fairly sharp. I thought about taking it up to my neighbor and letting him sharpen it, but this is fairly sharp. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try it out first chance I get. Be sure to watch the episodes, and we will do a little carving with this. You're supposed to be able to cut very thin slices of vegetables with this, so we're going to give that a shot. But I think it's a really nice knife. It did not come with a sheath or anything, so I'll have to take extra good care of it, I suppose. Just put it back. And this box is really cool because it's got magnets. So maybe I'll just, keep it in here and pull it out, when I need to use it. But I thought that was, really cool. And again, it's made by Husk, which is a Japanese company, and it's called Premium Control Knife. So I'll try to leave a link in the description section of the video where you can go and check it out if you want to. And they're not that expensive. I think that this knife sells for something like 30 bucks. Depending on who you buy it from. Another company, might be 34 bucks or something like that. But hey, watch for the review. This might be something that you might be interested in. And we can contact the company and see if they want to even offer a discount, for our subscribers if they want to, promote the blade on the channel. But anyway, yeah, that's pretty neat. So I wanted to show you that. That's something that we got lately. And I just want to say too that a lot of these companies, are starting to reach out. And if it's something that we can use, if you're new to this channel, we don't really try or want to promote anything that we wouldn't use here ourselves. So if they contact us and it looks like something that I can use up here on the homestead, then yeah, I'm for it. I'll get it, and we'll give it a good and honest review. And if I've got something to compare it to, I'll even do that. But a lot of things you never know about. When that company contacted me, I hit the link and went, and I thought, well, that's a cool looking knife. So that's how we ended up getting this, because we told them that, yeah, we can use that here on the homestead. And we don't mind passing that information along to you all either. So anyway, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get my phone out and see if we can answer a few questions. Well, okay, let's see. Somebody said, wow, a whole week of power sounds quite impressive. What they're doing is they're referring to the little video that we put out the other day because of a paid sponsorship by the company that sent us that power system. The power system basically holds almost a week's worth of power for the average use of what I'm using up here. And yes, it is really nice to have. Now I've actually got two. I've got a small unit, which is almost 1500 watts, and then this one, which is a much larger unit, which is 2000 watts. The smaller one is made by EcoFlow, and the larger one is made by Blue Eddy. But they both, have the ability to store power and also, be recharged the same way, and or you can use solar panels to actually plug into the side and charge them that way, which I don't have any solar panels, but just saying, that you can do that. But I think that's what they're referring to. So that's, yeah, it is quite impressive to be able to store that much power. Somebody else commented and said that they have never seen slab wood used like that, and they just love it. You've done some very unique things on your build. Well, the uniqueness came in, how am I going to achieve what I want to do and do it, and be able to save money, especially since lumber was so high. Coming up with some of these ideas for the use of materials that you wouldn't normally use ended up actually working together to create something quite unique, and goes along with the whole theme that I've got going on up here anyway. The backwoods cabin and the compost toilet and the chicken house that I built and this outdoor kitchen and everything else that I've got planned. So I would have never thought that I would have ended up doing anything like any of this up here, because the other things that I have managed to build, were pretty much dimensional lumber and done, as they build currently. But this has been a pretty fun process. There's been extra work involved in it, but it's been a pretty fun process to try to come up with alternative ideas and to try to think, you know, outside the box from the norm, you know, where you've got a lot of different angles and cuts and stuff like that. This lumber, live lumber, you know, it's nothing is the same on it. You can be traveling in a straight plane and then turn left or right or go take a dive or go up, and trying to work with that and you know, make it all fit and come together is a little bit of a challenge, but it's a lot of fun. So yeah, that's kind of unique. Just like the posts that I've got on the front porch, you know, they're crooked. So if you look at them one way, it might look like I don't have them level. But if you look at it, you know, level from the center point on the top to the center point on the bottom. But if you look at them another way, they are. I say level. Level is horizontal. I'm talking about plumb. But yeah, in order to make that stuff work, you got to use a little bit of ingenuity to make it all come together, because none of the modern equipment it works on anything like that. So you kind of have to work it in as you go. Anyway, somebody else was wanting to know, why did I place a wire box directly behind the stove? You're going to need heat-resistant fixture for that, and a heat shield would probably be a good idea as well. Well, that plug-in is for the cord. The stove has a fan mounted on the back of it, and I didn't want the cord hanging over the side and plugging into the side of the wall, so I decided to put one behind the stove. Now I will tell you that the stove is about this far away from the back wall, so there's plenty of space for that not to heat up too much, where air can circulate through there. Will it get warm back there? Yeah, it probably get a little bit warm, but it's not going to get hot enough to melt anything back there because of the area. You know, the stove actually sits all the way to the front. So I assume that they may have thought that, you know, the stove was going to be backed up against the wall, but it's not. But that is for power, to power the fan when I get solar, to be able to hook up to the panel that I'm going to put inside the house. So I'm not really worried about that box melting back there, and if I thought that it might, then yeah, I would probably get a heat shield. Someone else commented, wow, only R19 insulation in the ceiling. I would hate to have to cut the wood to keep that place warm. Well, you probably live in a place, or they probably live in a place where they would have to cut twice as much wood just to keep as warm as I'm going to, because here where I'm at, it barely seldom gets below freezing. It might get right around freezing, but very seldom does it get below. If it does, it's kind of freaky, but you know, it's not a big deal. But mainly around here, R19 is what they use because of the area that we're in, and it doesn't get that cold. And they have to also remember that I'm using the radiant barrier along with the insulation. So the radiant barrier reflects radiant heat back into the house, and in the summertime it reflects it back outside. If it's coming, like the UV rays coming in, it reflects those back away from the house. So that's the reason that I decided to go ahead and spend the money and put that in there. So I've got those two things working for me, plus the fact, you know, in the summertime I decided to go with the light colored tin so it doesn't attract as much heat, and you know, the fact that it's sawmill lumber and, you know, it's board and batten, there's probably going to be some heat loss in that you know, you wouldn't normally get if the wall was solid. But you know, I think that I'm going to be just fine with the addition of the thickness of the material that I use, that I cut up on the sawmill, plus the fact that like I said, I'm using the insulation and I'm using the radiant barrier not only in the ceiling but in the walls and up underneath the floor. So basically I'm going to be in a shell. I won't have any cell signal at all. Outside here I've got 2 bars of LTE. Okay, inside the house I get nothing because the cell signal cannot penetrate the radiant barrier. And I knew that putting it in. So at some point I'm going to have to get a Wi-Fi system with a antenna, you know, a gain device basically out here on the outside to be able to use the phone on the inside, because if I use it now I have to stand right at the window. I have to leave the phone in the window too, or it loses signal, and it takes a little bit to catch up. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this winter to actually seeing, you know, right now I don't even have the roof or the ceiling complete. I still have a gable end on this end totally incomplete, nothing in it. The one on the far end, half of it's incomplete, nothing on it. And I've also got a front room, no insulation, nothing in there. And it is 10 degrees pretty much all the time cooler in the cabin than it is outside. Now that's in the summertime. So my thinking is that it may be 10 degrees warmer, you know, inside on an average. Might be thinking wrong, than it is outside. So, you know, we'll see. We'll see what happens. This will be the first test of it coming up this winter. I don't think I'll have the cabin completely buttoned up, but I should have at least the insulation stuck in the wall and in the gable ends if I can't get all that completed before winter gets here. And we'll just see what it does then. And then if I can get it all buttoned up and sealed up really good, and you know, a lot of everything caulked and so forth, then you know, I'll even do that much better. But we'll see. I'll give you a report on it. Also, I did contact the guy about the bear, and he said since the flu hit again that he was having a hard time getting the things that he needed. That sometimes he would order something to be 6 or 8 weeks before he would even get a piece that he needed. Right now he's waiting on the styrofoam to form the skull. So he said he wasn't quite sure when. He said it's in the tanning solution, but he wasn't going to pull it out. That he would, you know, try to keep in touch with me and let me know when the pieces that he's, or the stuff that he needs in order to do the, finish the bear off, because I'm going to actually mount it on the wall. I didn't want a rug or anything like that. I didn't want it laying on the floor. I wanted to mount it on the wall. So I will keep you guys posted as to the updates on the bear that I'm having done through the taxidermist. Somebody else commented here and said, I really enjoy watching the progress on your cabin. I'm curious, are you going to air condition in a central mode or individual rooms, if any at all? I know it's hot in your neck of the woods, so I know if I were to live there, I would. Also, are you going to have a powerhouse to provide daytime use and some sort of battery backup system? I've talked about solar many times on the channel. I just haven't got around to doing it. That's a big ticket item, and you know, it takes money to purchase that, as well as the water catchment system, things like that. You know, and that stuff may have to wait till next year where I can afford to do that. I am on a fixed income now, and you know, I've got those battery systems that, like I said, they're working good for me. I can do what I need to do in about a week's worth of charge on that, so I'm not really hurting. The only thing that I haven't run is the fan on the back of the wood stove, but you know, we'll see. Depending on how well I've done insulating it, I may not have to have the fan. We'll just see. I do like it a little bit on the cooler side, but like I said, we'll just have to wait and see. If I do plug the fan in, I think it was drawing 40 or 50 watts, so that would be you know, an extra drain on the power system that I'm not using now. But you know, we'll see. We'll make do. I'm not, you know, not going to be hurting if I don't. But a lot of the big ticket items, you know, just to put guttering on the house, that's over $1,000. So you know, a lot of these things I'm going to have to wait for. I'm just trying to get, you know, the structure fixed up to where I can stay in it over the winter. But as far as air conditioning, the reason I put 5 ceiling fans in there, because that radiant barrier and the insulation does a good job. You know, I didn't grow up with no air conditioner, and I lived here too. So I'm thinking with 5 ceiling fans, if I can keep the house cool, then with those things running and rotating, it'll keep the air circulating. because this winter, this summer, all I used was that little battery operated fan. And honestly, in the evening, in the mountains, it gets down cooler than it would in town, probably about 10 degrees minimum cooler up here than it is up if I drive 15 minutes to town. So, I do have that advantage here. And it wasn't, oh gosh, well, my son was here in July and he asked me about bringing an extra fan up here. And I told him, I said, I don't think you're going to need it. I said, because by the early morning hours, you're looking for covers. Now, that was in the summertime. And sure enough, when he got here, he realized that, it wasn't that bad at night. As soon as the sun goes down and the house kind of cooled off, with the windows open and, a little bit of mountain breeze, what we were getting, evening breeze, and the fan going, by 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, you were hunting something to cover up with, because it was that on the chilly side. So I don't think I'm going to have that, and that's why I put one ceiling fan central of each one of the 5 units, because the 1 unit square has the bathroom in it, and I decided, since I'm going to put a false ceiling on the bathroom, that I didn't need a fan in that area. So I've got 5 ceiling fans that are going to be mounted on those purlins, and with those things rotating, I think the house will stay cool without even having to use any type of air conditioning or such. Another guy commented about that slab wood. He goes, "Hello from Canada, sir. I've never seen anything like this before. It's beautiful. We've always called that garbage and burnt it. Nice to see that beautiful cabin coming to life." He's talking about that slab wood, because like I told you on the last episode, I think, that a lot of people would go to the sawmill, pick that stuff up, and they cut it up in about 1-foot blocks or chunks, and they would stack it up and they would use it and burn it over the wintertime when they had, the wood stoves, because nobody used it. And so I have found a use for it, and it actually, looks pretty good. It's unique, and also I think that I'm going to use it for baseboards too. Talked about, running it through the sawmill and planing one side of it off, and turn the other live edge up, and just let it wander across wherever it will, from one position to the next, where I need to put my baseboards. So I think that's what I'm going, and it will match my crooked wildwood wainscot, that I put up there. The transition between that and the sheetrock. So kind of like my chair molding. But anyway, yeah, it's all coming together, I think, and what I'm going to put on the roof to cover the seams, so there's going to be a whole lot of that slab wood in the cabin. I think it's really going to look cool. So I'm interested. I can already see it coming together. I'm interested to see what it's going to look like when I get it all done. It's going to be really busy with slab wood in there, but I think it's going to look good. Another guy wrote, who's been following us a long time, he says, "Purely out of curiosity, if at a later date you're going to hold workshops and camping areas down on the bottom area of your property, why don't you move the little cabin down there as a rental, and to make it look more in theme with the rest of the property, cover it with the same sort of cut-offs or slab wood that you're using for trim inside the cabin. That way you can use something you already have, instead of building or even turning it into a meeting place for campers down there, along with some sort of small classroom." Well, I've never thought about that. I think it's a pretty cool idea. We'll just have to see about how to go about getting it down there. I don't know if it could be loaded on that 18-foot trailer, because it's going to stick out. Let's see, that's a total of 28 feet long. It would stick out 10 feet. I guess I could put the porch in on the front part. That way it doesn't hang up on anything. Let the rear end, I don't know, we'll just have to see. Then it would probably have to be backed in down there, or if the skid steer or something had a ball on the front, be able to move it that way. But you know, it's on skids. I don't know how well that would hold together, so that's the reason I was suggested maybe putting it on that 18-foot trailer and somehow trying to dump it off down there, because I don't know that the guy, you know, the flatbed system that he had, that he could even get the truck down there. So we'll just have to see, you know, how we would go about doing that. But it's a good idea. I don't know about any kind of rental. I haven't thought about that. But we'll just have to see. You know, there's lots of uses that I could make out of that thing. So that's still up in the air, but great comment. You know, I love comments like that because it causes me to think about, you know, what I could do or how I could change things up and stuff like that. So keep those comments coming. Somebody else wanted to know, can I ask you why you're putting concrete up in the chimney bend through the wall? I've never seen it done that way before, as for me asking. A lot of the old timers had a concrete box poured in or set in the wall where their pipe actually went through from the outside to the inside, because that cement collar absorbed the heat and dissipated it, and it kept the immediate area, you know, cooler. Now this system here, it had some sort of a you've probably seen me trying to put it back together, but it came in two halves. It had a piece that came from the outside, a piece comes from the inside, and one would slide over the other one, so it created its own tubing, which was about I think 3 or 4 inches larger than the actual tubing stove pipe that actually went through. Okay, so there's that dead air space around there, and then where I put the concrete was on the outside of that, because I didn't want to lock anything in place in there as far as my pipe going through, because if I ever had to try to replace one, I could just pull it out, right? But I packed concrete in around that thing, that I set it, you know, in between the 2x4s. It had to be screwed to be held in place. So I packed concrete from the outside of that over to the 2x4s in top and bottom, trying to create a cement collar around the outside of that tubing. You know, I don't think I had to do that, because I think that that's why they're made that way. But it just made me feel better, you know. And I had the mortar, so it didn't really, you know, cost me a great deal other than, you know, a few bucks and some time to put that in there. But it makes me feel better, and it does help, you know, to absorb the heat as, you know, it may be created inside that dead air space. But anyway, that's the reason I did it, because a lot of the old timers, like I said, on the wall, they would have a cement collar that would be placed inside the wall, and that's what they attached their old stovepipe to. You know, I've got some sections up there, they're $100 a piece, they're thick and insulated, but you know, the old 6-inch or the old 8-inch flexible piping that people used to use for wood stoves, I think that's why they had that collar in there, for, you know, safety reasons. I've had some comments about this channel versus the other channel too, and I wanted to address that. We have come to find that the majority of the people, they like watching the videos that don't have too much talking, and, you know, are informative or entertaining and so forth. And, you know, we certainly hope that our videos are entertaining, and we hope that they're informative in some way, just like we're talking about the use of this slab wood. If you've never used it and you think it's cool, you know, anything that we've done up here, if you know, it will work for you, feel free to do it. But the difference between the two channels is this channel right here is just basically, you know, a vlog of explaining the why, what, and how we're doing things behind the scenes. When people tune into the main channel, I want them to be able to sit back. You know, a lot of stuff that I'm doing is self-explanatory. You see me, you know, measuring and cutting a board or something like that, or shaving the bark off of something. You know, that's just you know, simple stuff. So I think people get the picture on what I'm doing. But it's basically watching me live my life up here. It's not a how-to or a tutorial, anything about building, or it's just my way of doing things. And it's, like I said, it's just watching me live my lifestyle and building the homestead out here and things like that. And we certainly hope that people are enjoying watching the place come to life. I've got some ideas. I've got some benches that I'm going to be picking up. I need to find a spot where I'm going to take some of that rock that I've got left over, make a really nice fire pit, and I've got some concrete benches, a little corner of the woods that I'm going to, so that even in the summertime I could go up there and possibly sit around and have a fire, but still be shady. Anyway, my point is that there's going to be a whole lot going on up here, and like I said, I certainly hope that people are enjoying the process of building the homestead out here. And I try to keep the talk minimal on that channel because it's hard to talk because you have to stop to explain things, or it's hard to keep going and keep your mind on what you're doing. So I think that it's a better mix if I just go ahead and show what I'm doing on that channel with a very little explanation. Then if people see that and they're interested in it and they want to get more information about it, then they can come over here to the review channel where I can take more time and sit, and talk things out. But there's a lot that goes into making those videos, and there's just not enough time, to be able to do all that. So that's the reason that we set up another channel, so that we could, answer questions, because it was getting hard to personally contact everybody. So a lot of the things in general I can address at one time here on the video, where I might have to send that same note to 100 different people. So this is a whole lot better way of communicating to the people. And you can actually do a show and tell here, where if I just try to answer their question with text, you might not get the point. So that's the reason that we have the two formats. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed that little review. Thank you so much for stopping by and checking out behind the scenes on what's happening up here at the cabin. If you're new to this channel, be sure and go check out our main channel, Smoky Mountain Outpost. That's where more of the work is being done. This channel here just kind of explains the behind the scenes. My son, my daughter, and I, we can't thank you enough for supporting both of our channels, actually, and sharing it with your family, friends, and neighbors. Be sure also there is a link in the description section below this video. We have a store there where there's a lot of apparel, pullovers, and t-shirts and things like that. You've got holidays coming up, and fall and winter. There may be something in there that you like, so be sure and go check that out. Also, towards the end of the video, I will have some icons pop up. If you want to watch the most recent Outpost video, click the top left-hand corner. If you want to watch the most recent review video, click the bottom left-hand corner. Anyway, guys, we all hope that you have a great afternoon. Take care of yourselves, and we look forward to seeing you back up here at the cabin again next time.